I jolted awake from the freezing ruins. The biting cold and gnawing hunger still lingered on my body. But when I looked up, I saw the white walls of my rented room and my old phone on the desk. It was clearly a familiar scene. With trembling fingertips, I unlocked the phone. The calendar showed April 3rd, 2088. 30 days before the extreme natural disaster. I have been reborn. In my previous life, Lin Xi and I grew up together in an orphanage. We were each other's only family. But a week before the disaster struck, we had a massive fight over her blind infatuation. She insisted on lending all her savings to that upperclassman who only ever spent her money. In a fit of rage, I told her we were done, and slammed the door behind me. Not long after, continuous rainstorms, freezing weather, water and power outages followed one after another. The city's order completely collapsed. I was never able to reach her again. I struggled alone in the ruins for 2 years, and finally froze to death in that harsh winter. Before I died, my mind was filled with her smiling face. In this life, I will absolutely never lose her again. Nor will I let the tragedy repeat itself. The very first second of my rebirth, I only had one thought in my mind: make money. Hoard supplies and tie Lin Xi to my side. I rushed out the door like a madwoman, relying on the winning lottery numbers I accidentally saw in my past life. I headed straight to the lottery shop and bought that sequence. 3 days later, the results were drawn. Clutching the ticket, I stood at the redemption center, looking at the winning information on the screen. Tears instantly fell. I won 100 million. After taxes, I received 82 million. The moment the money hit my account, I immediately called Lin Xi. From the receiver came her aggrieved voice. Still upset about our last argument. So you finally decided to call me? Didn't you say you'd never talk to me again? I suppressed the choke in my throat, my tone incredibly serious. She. Let's make up. Stop being mad. I just won 100 million. I'll take care of you from now on. You never have to wrong yourself for others ever again. The other end of the line was silent for a few seconds. Then came Lin Xi's unbelievable gasp. Xiaomeng, you're not lying to me, are you? Are you out of your mind? I'll transfer 2 million to you right now. Take a cab immediately to the Yunshan sales office in the suburbs. Don't ask why. Just come right now. Hanging up the phone, I transferred the money directly, and then took a cab to Yunshan. This is a scenic area in the suburbs, featuring single-family villas mid-mountain. The terrain is high, far from the bustling city, surrounded by mountains and water, and offers excellent privacy. It will be the safest shelter when the disaster strikes. By the time Lin Xi arrived, I had already negotiated the house with the agent. She looked at the magnificent villa in front of her, then looked at the deposit notification on her phone. Completely dumbfounded, she grabbed my hand and kept asking questions. I didn't dare mention my rebirth, afraid she would think I was crazy. I just vaguely said I had a premonition of a huge disaster and we needed to prepare in advance, although her face was full of doubts. She still chose to believe me. This was the tacit understanding we built over 10 years. This villa is perfect in every way, except the surrounding walls are too low. If there are riots or extreme weather later on, it won't hold up at all. I pointed at the low walls outside the villa and spoke firmly to the agent. Raise the walls by 1.5 meters. Reinforce them with thickened concrete. Weld sharp steel spikes to the top. Install dual-layer heating indoors and outdoors, and surround it with a high-voltage electric grid. It must be completed within 10 days. I will pay triple the wages. The agent's expression changed several times, but was ultimately moved by the massive payoff, agreeing repeatedly. Just after signing the purchase contract, Lin Xi's phone rang. It was that upperclassman. I gave her a look and nodded. When she answered, her tone lacked its usual submissiveness. I don't have time right now. Don't call me again. You don't need to return the money I lent you. We are even. Hanging up the phone, she looked at me. Smiling with relief, I figured it out. He never really cared about me. I was just too stupid before. From now on, I'm sticking with you. I'll listen to whatever you say. My anxious heart finally settled. Next, we kicked off our crazy hoarding mode. I rented 3 large trucks and headed straight to the suburbs at the largest agricultural wholesale market. I handed a list straight to the boss, speaking with urgency. Prepare the goods according to this list. I'm opening a chain supermarket. I need it urgently. The faster the better. I'll pay in full. Deliver it to the warehouse in the village at the foot of Yunshan. Don't ask too many questions. The list was densely packed with survival supplies, rice, flour and noodles, 500 bags each, compressed biscuits, canned meat, canned fruits, and dehydrated vegetables, 200 boxes each, 1,000 barrels of purified water, also various grain seeds, potato and sweet potato seedlings, cooking oil, salt, sugar, and seasonings. I ordered the maximum amount of everything that could be stored. Then, I took Lin Xi to sweep through major supermarkets, pharmacies, hardware stores, and outdoor supply shops. Thick down jackets, windbreakers, waterproof boots, and thermal underwear. We bought hundreds of sets. Cold medicine, antibiotics, trauma medicine, and first aid kits stuffed over a dozen boxes. We hoarded 5 tons each of gasoline and diesel, solar panels, batteries, independent generators, water purifiers and heaters, all top-tier models. Also riot batons, fire axes, ropes, surveillance equipment, and drones. We didn't miss a single thing. Lin Xi followed me the whole time, from being utterly confused at first, to actively helping me pick things out later. She even suggested remodeling the villa's courtyard. She abandoned her previous idea of planting roses everywhere. Instead, she had workers plant fruit trees that would bear fruit this year, shoveled away the lawn to install an automatic irrigation system, preparing to plant cabbages, radishes, potatoes, and other vegetables that store well. Flowers can't be eaten. It's more practical to plant vegetables. We'll be self-sufficient from now on. Lin Xi watched the workers constructing, while smiling at me. Her eyes were full of anticipation for the future. Looking at her smiling face, my heart was full of gratitude. Thank goodness there was still time. For a full 5 days, the villa's remodeling project accelerated. The basement had already been filled to the brim with all kinds of supplies. The fruit trees in the courtyard were planted, and the vegetable plots were organized. The roof was covered with solar panels. Even the garage had been reinforced. I also ordered an armored off-road vehicle, specifically designed for traveling during the disaster. There were 22 days left until the catastrophe. But I knew time was running out. At night, Lin Xi and I sat in the living room of the villa, looking out at the mountain scenery. She suddenly held my hand. Xiao Meng, no matter what happens in the future, I'm staying with you. We'll never be apart again. I nodded firmly, secretly swearing in my heart, in this life, I will protect her with everything I have. I will never let the regrets of my past life repeat. 28 days had passed since I was reborn and redeemed my prize. Only 2 days remained until the extreme disaster fully erupted. The mid-mountain villa had long been transformed into an impenetrable, safe fortress, heightened and reinforced walls with a high-voltage grid. Dual-layer heating systems kept the indoors warm all year round. Independent generators and solar panels ensured continuous water and electricity. Water purifiers ran 24/7. The supplies in the basement were enough for the 2 of us to live comfortably for 10 years. The fruit trees in the courtyard were thriving. Tender shoots were sprouting in the vegetable patches. We kept over a dozen chickens and ducks in the coop, laying eggs every day. Everything was moving in a stable direction. Lin Xi and I were fully prepared. We turned off irrelevant notifications on our phones, only monitoring the weather warnings, silently waiting for that moment to arrive. Lin Xi had completely let go of the past, no longer mentioning that guy. Every day, she followed me to inspect the villa's equipment, organize supplies, and tend to the courtyard. Our days were peaceful and fulfilling. The customized armored off-road vehicle had also been delivered. Its body was reinforced, the fuel tank was supersized, and a cargo rack was installed. I specifically hired an instructor to learn how to drive it and got a temporary license. Lin Xi also practiced a few times and could barely manage to hit the road. On the night before the disaster struck, Lin Xi and I packed the last batch of supplies. Just as we were about to rest, the doorbell suddenly rang. Through the surveillance monitor, I saw a strange, middle-aged man standing outside, holding an injured puppy in his arms, looking incredibly anxious. It was the same designated driver who helped us drive our car back to the villa this afternoon. Alarm bells instantly rang in my head. When I saw him off this afternoon, the way he looked at our villa was full of greed. He was definitely up to no good. Don't open the door, something's wrong with him. I pulled back Lin Xi, who was about to open the door, and whispered a warning. But Lin Xi was soft-hearted, looking at the poor puppy on the monitor. She couldn't help but open the door anyway. It's too cold outside. Come in and bandage the puppy. But you must leave as soon as you're done. The driver thanked us repeatedly. After entering, his eyes constantly darted around the house, looking at the house full of daily necessities and piled up supplies. The greed in his eyes couldn't be hidden. I suppressed my anger, quickly helped him bandage the puppy, and showed him the door. As he left, he gave the villa a meaningful glance. With a creepy smile, there's definitely something wrong with him. We need to be careful tonight. I locked the room doors, deadbolted all the doors and windows, turned on the whole house surveillance, and took turns keeping watch with Lin Xi. At M. The piercing security alarm suddenly went off. I woke up with a start. Rushing to the monitor, I took a look. 4 men had gathered outside the garage door. It was that driver and his accomplices. They were holding iron pipes and knives, trying to pry open the garage lock, cursing under their breath. These 2 women live in such a nice house. They must have hoarded a lot of good stuff. Let's take them down tonight, and all the supplies will be ours. Lin Xi's face turned pale. She gripped my hand tightly. I patted the back of her hand, speaking calmly, don't be afraid. Our villa is very safe. They can't get in. I'll handle this. I picked up the fire axe I had prepared in advance, walked to the first floor living room, and spoke coldly through the intercom. I've already called the police. If you don't leave right now, the cops will be here any minute. The group of men were startled, but looking at the lit villa, they were still unwilling to give up and started frantically smashing the courtyard gate. But little did they know, our walls were made of thickened concrete. They couldn't possibly smash it open. The high-voltage grid left them completely helpless. Just during this standoff, the TV suddenly switched to an emergency broadcast. The anchor spoke rapidly, with a grave expression. Emergency alert, continuous extreme rainstorms have broken out nationwide. Some cities are experiencing severe flooding. Power and communication systems are paralyzed. Citizens are urged to stay in safe areas and minimize going out. Before the news even finished, a torrential downpour suddenly began outside the window. Fierce winds howled. The distant downtown area was instantly plunged into darkness. The power went out. The disaster had finally arrived. Looking at the suddenly blackened sky and hearing the raging storm outside, the thugs instantly panicked. No longer caring about the robbery, they scrambled away and fled the villa. I breathed a complete sigh of relief. I turned around and hugged the shivering Lin Xi. finally revealing the secret I had been hiding. Xi, I'm sorry. I haven't told you this whole time. I have been reborn, in my previous life. We argued and cut ties. When the disaster came, I could never find you again. I suffered alone for 2 years. And finally froze to death. Lin Xi jerked her head up, her eyes full of shock. Then, tears welled up as she hugged me tightly in return. I don't blame you. I knew you definitely had your reasons. Thank goodness we made up. Thank goodness we're together. The heavy rain poured for 3 whole days. The city had completely fallen. Flooded streets, power and water outages, severe supply shortages, chaos and despair were everywhere. Yet, our mid-mountain villa had become a pure haven in this troubled world. The indoors were warm and dry. Water and electricity were plentiful. The fridge was stuffed with fresh meat. Supplies in the basement were piled high like a mountain. The vegetables in the yard were growing wonderfully. Chickens and ducks foraged leisurely. Every day, Lin Xi and I would use high-powered binoculars to observe the situation down the mountain, watching the once bustling city turn into a flooded wasteland filled our hearts with sorrow. We stopped paying attention to the chaos outside and focused on living our own lives. Tending the garden, experimenting with cooking, organizing supplies, and keeping each other company. Occasionally, survivors would pass by down the mountain, seeing our sturdy villa and abundant supplies. They would want to knock and ask for help. We would always pass some food and water through the fence. But we never opened the gate. It wasn't out of coldness, but to guard our ultimate safe zone. A month after the disaster erupted, the weather gradually turned freezing. Our villa remained as warm as spring. Lin Xi and I sat on the terrace, looking at the snowscape in the distance. Holding hot drinks in our hands, we smiled at each other. The regrets of my past life were finally made up for in this one. Winning the lottery wasn't for squandering, but to protect my only family. All I wanted was our companionship. In this apocalyptic despair, we are each other's most solid support. Living on peacefully is the best ending of all.